What's up, everybody, and welcome to One Man's Opinion. What is going on? Okay. All right, then. What's up, everybody, and welcome to One Man's Opinion. And today we're talking about WandaVision episodes 3, 4, and 5. WandaVision, the first couple episodes, there's potential. There's definitely potential, but unsure. I wasn't really a fan of how they released them. On to episode 3, there's really not much to talk about here. It's more of the same that we got in episode 1 and 2, so it's a continued trickle of something's going on. There's a little bit more, and you kind of get it just peeled back just a little bit, but still not much to grab onto. The episode ends kind of crazy with Wanda just throwing, what was her name? Can't remember her name. Her friend, through a bunch of walls. Can't remember if you actually see that she ended up in the real world and at the end of episode 3, or if it was at the beginning of episode 4. Point is, episode 3, just more of the same. A few more instances of the outside world kind of leaking in. Episode 4 is where things start to change. It's where the story starts to change a little bit. Episode 4 is basically a what has happened up until this point sort of episode. Wanda's friend, Rambo. Monica Rambo? We'll just call her Rambo. I think it's Monica. I believe it's Monica. Monica Rambo is the woman that Wanda throws out. So episode 4 is basically like an unraveling of things. You get to see what's been going on outside of the wall. It's basically a bunch of FBI guys and SHIELD or SWORD or whatever it is trying to figure out what's going on inside of Wanda's bubble. You find out that Rambo was one of these people. She's like a captain for SWORD, and she ended up going in to try to figure out what was going on inside of Westfield. I think the name of the town is Westfield. Or Westville. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Episode 4 was good because it finally said, okay, this is all Wanda. Pretty much what you thought was happening is what is happening. Wanda is controlling everything. I like episode 4. Don't get me wrong. I like it. I just don't see why you dedicate an entire episode to it. The only way I would dedicate an entire episode to a reveal is if it was a twist. So, if no one saw it coming that Wanda was doing this, but everyone knows. If you follow the MCU, I talked about this with episode 1 and 2. Everyone knows that this is either Wanda or Wanda is being controlled by somebody and being made to do it. But you knew that Wanda was the one who is essentially the power behind this whole thing. It's not a reveal to go back and show what happened the last 3 episodes. Is it interesting to kind of see it from that alternate perspective? Very interesting. But you didn't have to do it that way. You could have showed what was going on the outside while showing what was going on the inside and just took these steps together. You didn't have to go 3 episodes in and then use an episode to backtrack and then catch back up. I'm not saying that it's the worst thing ever, but again, I still have a problem with either A, if you're going to do it that way, release 4 episodes up front so that way you've got something to grab onto. Because the first 3 episodes were just the same thing over and over again, and it was like trying to tease something, but the audience already knew it was happening. And so while episode 4 was enjoyable, and it certainly answered a lot of questions, and it certainly did it in a very interesting way, it still is played up for this big reveal when it didn't reveal anything. We knew what was going on. We knew. We got introduced to some new characters. Some of them were returning characters. And so, I don't know, something about the pacing, something about maybe the way they released it, the choice of timing, when to show things, when to not. Up until episode 4, to me, there were some mistakes made. Don't get me wrong, the acting is brilliant. The writing, aside from the timeline and how things are laid out, the writing is brilliant. Every time they try to capture a certain era, a certain sitcom, a certain feel, they nail it. The cast nails the time period. They nail the sitcom. Whatever it is that they're going for in this show, they're hitting the nail right on the head. I think my only issue with this show so far is timing. And then we get to episode 5, and finally, I have not. Listen, I told you with episode 1 and 2, I didn't really want to watch this show. I wasn't that excited about it to begin with. But episode 5 has me excited for episode 6. Now, I will say, coming off episode 4, I had a little bit of excitement. I was ready to see what comes next with episode 5, and I wasn't disappointed. You still are getting a little bit of that sitcom stuff, and I appreciate that they're adding that in there because it should still be in there. But slowly, this whole thing is starting to unravel around Wanda. She's had contact with the outside world now. It's finally gotten somewhere. In episode 6, I can't wait. I'm finally in. I'm finally invested. And I'm not saying that a show shouldn't take you 5 episodes to get invested. I'm just saying that it could have been laid out a little different. You could have been invested from episode 1, 2, or 3. Instead, it took 4 or 5 at least to really get going. It is headed somewhere good, and I see a lot of potential here. I think a lot of things are about to get very interesting in this show. If you're not watching it yet, I would say now is the time to start tuning in. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I'm not sure about WandaVision, and then you saw my first 1 or 2 episodes and you thought, yeah, now I really don't want to watch it. If you're watching this now and you've got Disney Plus, I would say if you have any interest at all, now is the time to go start watching because episode 5, things just got very, very interesting. I'm about to spoil something huge that happened at the end of episode 5. So if you are watching and you haven't seen episode 5 yet, or you plan to watch, you don't want to listen to the next little bit. Maybe right here, I'll drop in like a time code somewhere so that you know where to skip ahead to. Quicksilver shows up at the end. So Wanda's brother, Pietro, who died in Age of Ultron, shows up at the end of episode 5, but with a twist. The twist is it's not Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is the actor who played Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. It's Peter... I can't remember that actor's name. One second. Evan Peters. I was thinking Peter Evans, I think. Evan Peters is the guy's name. Anyway, so it's Evan Peters, who is the guy who played Quicksilver in the X-Men. Marvel just recently got the rights to X-Men, which means Wanda may be the reason that the X-Men are brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is really cool. And there's even a joke made. The FBI people are watching the show happen, and one of them says, they recast Quicksilver? And it's pretty funny. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I wonder if Aaron Taylor Johnson knew that they were going to do this. I wonder if they called him and were like, hey man, nothing personal. This is the direction we're going. We loved you in Age of Ultron. Sorry, but, it's Evan Peters from now on. That would have been nice. I wonder, or it would have been bad if he was like sitting at home watching and then Quicksilver shows up and it's not him. I feel like that's a little bit of a slap in the face, especially since, unpopular opinion, I really liked Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver. So anyway, he shows up right at the end and wow, it was quite a moment. And then the episode goes off. So a lot of very interesting things going on in WandaVision right now. I don't want to take up too much time. Let me just say this. It looks really good. There's a lot more that I didn't touch on going on in the show with Vision kind of figuring things out, and him and Wanda have this big argument, and you find out that Vision has no memory of before Westfield, so he doesn't remember anything at all about the Avengers or about Thanos or certainly getting the gemstone ripped out of his head. He doesn't remember any of that. And so there is a moment of real tension as Vision is figuring out what's happening and he confronts Wanda. Wanda essentially tries to end the episode, credits start rolling, and then Vision just cuts through it and he's like, no, we're having this conversation. Having said all that, this show is good. It's good. I expect there to be much more. I'm anticipating another big twist. There's part of this that Wanda says that she doesn't remember. She's not entirely sure how she ended up here. So I think there's going to be another twist. It would be weird if there wasn't like a bad guy working behind the scenes, at least at the end. Even if they don't face him at the end, it would be weird if there wasn't some ominous presence at least shown toward the end of it. I don't expect this is 100% Wanda, though I could be wrong. I think it would be really interesting if they turned Wanda into the bad guy for a little while, because she is probably the most powerful Avenger, including Captain Marvel, especially if they go comic book Wanda, and that seems to be where they're going. Wanda is incredibly powerful. in the comics. So that seems to be where they're going. If she turned bad guy for a while, that would be super interesting. But I don't think they'll do it. I think even if she does go bad guy for a short time, they will reveal that there's some sort of ominous presence, a mastermind, a bad guy behind the whole thing, maybe pulling some strings, some minor things. A lot of interesting things happening. I'm actually really looking forward to episode 6. So still no rating because the show's got a ways to go. Things are definitely looking up. Okay. All right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment down below. If you're watching WandaVision, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you think. Predictions for what's going to happen. I'm really interested. I'd like to hear what some of you guys think. So let me know down below. Did you like the video? Did you not like it? Let me know. And remember, it's just one man's opinion. Thanks.